All right, everybody. So let's jump into the second part of Dignitas from stage 30 of Latin. Got another cup of coffee in hand, so should have the energy to go through this and stave off the slow march of time. All right, so we have just gotten through. We've gotten through these first introductory paragraph and the first two bits of line. So Haterius is sucking a bit because he hasn't gotten acknowledged for his contribution towards this great arch. So he's talking to his wife, Rutilia. So let's go ahead. Last little bit that he said, he's saying he's not able to relax or to rest because he's suffered such an injury. It's not exactly what it says, but that's the gist. So, Rutilia. Verba tu non intellego quis tibi and iuriam intulit. So let's go for a main verb here. I do not understand, present tense verb. Non, so adverb, I do not understand. Tua verba. Now, we know, first of all, that these are not long A's, so therefore that it cannot be an ablative. When you're translating Latin on a lot of later texts, university, BCE, whatever, BCE, that is to say, exams, they won't have the long mark, so you won't necessarily know. You'll have to know that these words are neuter plural. And therefore you'll know that they could be nominative or they could be accusative. Because this is a singular verb, it has to be accusative plural. So, I don't understand your words. Okay, next sentence. Quis tibi and iuriam intulit. So, quis right here, we have to look and say, okay, this is a quis. It's not a qui. So therefore, it's not a relative clause. It doesn't mean who in terms of someone that you're referring back to. It's instead an indefinite pronoun. So it's indefinite or interrogative, right? As opposed to a relative pronoun, two separate things in Latin. Same thing in English, though, at least in terms of form. So who, as in not knowing who intulit. So who brought, tolo from Pharaoh, like to bring. So who brought in iuriam, direct object, this injury, this injustice, tibi, against you, to your disadvantage. It's a dative of disadvantage. So we would translate this, who brought this injustice to you? Haterius goes, ego salvel qui mi favere sollevat omino deceptus sum. So the order is a little bit odd here. We'll have to jump around a little bit, but we'll try and translate left to right because that's how the Romans heard it. So ego, I, clearly it has to be the subject. We know ego is always going to be a nominative subject. I, salvio, by Salvius. So this is an ablative of agent. And we just assume right now, if we see this ablative agent, that there's probably a passive verb. But we haven't got it yet. We've got instead this qui. So qui clause, we know that this is a relative clause. It's referring back to someone. And it's either going to be referring back to I or Salvius. Let's assume that it's going to Salvius because it's right next to him. So I by Salvius, who, me, so to me, we know it's a dative of probably interest. And because it's me, we know that this qui clause definitely has to be referring to Salvius, because if it were referring to ego, you'd have a reflexive pronoun there, right? So, who, to me, povere solebat. We've got this soleo. Remember that that's a word that we translated as accustomed to or used to. It indicates repeated action, and it's an imperfect tense verb. So he was accustomed to give favor to me. Who was accustomed to give favor to me? We know that faveo takes that dative, to favor me. It takes a dative, not direct object, but we'll translate it like a direct object. We'll probably be able to translate this better as who used to favor me, or who always favored me. Omnino, entirely. So this is adverbial right there. It's an adverb, but it probably comes from originally ablative, that long O. Deceptus sum. So deceptus sum is that perfect passive tense verb. So the perfect passive participle plus the form sum. It's a first person singular. We can tell by the sum. So I was deceived entirely by Salvius, who was accustomed to favor me. That's the full sentence right there. All right. Next sentence, pro omnibus meis laboribus engens premium mihi a salvio promissum est. So let's look for, right at the beginning here, we've got this long prepositional phrase starting by pro, and with all of these datives, so datives takes, pro takes not datives, but ablatives. They're locatival ablatives, because pro, it literally means in front of, but figuratively it means for. Right? We can go in as a big explanation of that in terms of Proto-Indo-European, but we'll not get into that now. Just know in context that it can be in front of, or on behalf of, or for. And here it's going to be for. For omnibus meis laboribus. So the noun itself, laboribus is last. It's an ablative plural. So for all my labors, for all my works. And then here is our nominative subject of the sentence. Engens premium, a big premium. We get the word premium for this. It's a reward, reward or payment, gift, something like that. A huge reward. Me, to me, dative of advantage. A salvio, ablative of agent by Salvius. Promissum est, has been promised or was promised. So let's put that in more reasonable English word order. So a huge reward was promised to me by Salvius for all my labors. Too easy. All right, let's go to the next sentence. Nullum premium tamen ne gratius quidem accepi. Okay. So let's start here. Nullum premium could be a nominative or it could be an accusative. Now, mainly because it's a neuter, we will figure out from the verb. If we peek ahead, we'll see that this is first person singular, perfect tense verb. So therefore, we know it has to be the direct object. But we can translate it left to right. No reward, tamen, however, adverb. Ne quidam gratia. So ne quidam means not even. Not even. We'll just kind of put that in your list of mental idiomatic phrases. There's a longer explanation for that, as always in Latin, but again, just we'll remember that there is not even gratias, not even thanks or congratulations. Accepi, I received. So let's put that in. Ordinary English word order. So I received no reward, however, not even thanks. Okay, so too easy again. And when Tilia comes back, and she goes, contentus esto mihi. So contentus, it means content, content. We'll just say content, not quite happy. And esto is a singular imperative form of sum. So it said, be content, mihi. So it's a vocative form of my dear Haterius. So because she's directly addressing him, not always does vocative go with imperative, but it can go by itself without imperatives, but it often does. So be content, my dear Haterius. Redemptor notissimus est, cuius arcus ab imperatore ipso nuper laudatus est. Okay, so Redemptor notissimus est. This is our main clause right here. It comes first. So Redemptor is a builder. Notissimus, very notable, extremely well known. So it's a superlative adjective. We'll know that it's a predicate adjective because of s. You are. So you are a very noteworthy or very well known builder. So notissimus is that adjective modifying Redemptor. The subject is implied. So you are a very notable builder. Cuius. Now we notice that this cuius is introducing a relative clause. We're used to relative clauses now that don't have a qui or a quem. So this is a genitive. Whose or of whom, so, of whom wouldn't work here. So it's whose because it's modifying the subject of this subordinated relative clause. The arcus, this is the subject. Of whose arch or whose arch. Ab imperatore. So another ablative of agent with a passive verb, which we'll see at the end of this, by the emperor. Ipso, himself. So this is an intensifying pronoun that's intensifying the emperor, saying, "Hey, yeah, the big guy in charge, really he himself gave a stamp of approval." Nuper, adverb, recently. Laudatus est, perfect passive tense verb, was praised or had been praised, has been praised. Sorry. So let's put it all together in terms of ordinary English word order. You are a very well-known builder whose arch was recently praised by the emperor himself. Yeah. All right, next sentence. Multa aedificia publica extruxisti, unde magnas divitias comparavisti. So, the multa aedificia publica, these are, well, you have to know from aedificia that it's a neuter plural. So many public buildings. So this could technically be a nominative subject, but we know from the verb here, which is a second person plural perfect verb, that it has to be the direct object. So many public buildings you built, right? Unde, and unde it means whence or from when, from where, from which. It's from a place. It's a sort of indicating the source of something. So from which magnas divitias comparavisti. So from which much wealth comparavisti you obtained, the perfect tense verb, right? Notice that these are also plurals. They're accused of plurals, but I'm just translating as a singular because wealth and money in English, they're collective singulars, whereas in Roman times, in Latin, it's not. They're actually full plurals. So much wealth you obtained. So let's put that all together. So you built many public buildings from which you obtained much wealth. Also, note the verb here, comparo. It can mean to obtain, but it can also mean to compare. So you have to know these verbs in context. It can also mean to provide for. So all these Latin verbs, they have a bunch of different meanings. You just have to know from context. Also, because when you're going to be doing Latin, most of the time you'll have a dictionary, and you'll look up the dictionary, especially if you've got a small, reasonable, sturdy dictionary. It'll give you the most frequent usages. So probably about 2 or 3 usages for most verbs, sometimes less, sometimes more. For the ones that have really, really obscure usages, you'll have to go to a big dictionary. So if something really doesn't fit, go to a big dictionary to see if you can find a reference that maybe will give you a little bit more information on what a verb usage is, or non-usage. But you shouldn't jump to that big dictionary first. Always go to a smaller dictionary first, because they'll give you the most of what you need, usually 90% of the time, maybe a little bit more than 90%. So let's go down to what Haterius responds. So Haterius says, divitias non curo. So divitias, so wealth, non curo. I do not care for. So I don't care about wealth, is what he's saying. Curo, if you look up in the back of your Cambridge Latin book, the verb curo they translate it as to look after. Now, and I put over here, I don't look after riches because of that. Because the back of Cambridge Latin says that as it's the only definitions that they give, I guess I would accept it on a written translation. But the problem is that it doesn't really mean that. It doesn't mean that he doesn't look after as in like being a banker, attending for wealth. what it means is he doesn't care about it. His personal interests are not centered around wealth, is what he's trying to say. Not that he doesn't tend to money. So that's a subtle thing. I'm leaving it up there because Latin, the Cambridge Latin, only gives you that definition in the back of the book. But I prefer if you don't write that. So in hoc orbe sunt plurimi redemptores qui opes maximus comparaverunt. So in this city, right? So prepositional phrase, locatival ablative, are sunt, present tense verb, plurimi redemptores. So both the nominative plural, many builders, and then a relative clause describing those builders who opes maximus, great wealth, or great riches, comparaverunt. So same usage of comparo as up here, obtained many, much riches. So let's put it all together. There are many builders in this city who have who obtained much wealth. Cool, too easy. And we get opes, ops. We get opulent in words like opulent from ops. So mihi autem non divitiae sed dignitas est curas. So right here is me, for me, however, not wealth, but dignity, but honor is of care to me. So this is a dative of reference with reference to me. Subjects are divitiae. Now divitiae here is a plural. It's a plural, nominative plural. And dignitas is a nominative singular. It's one of those weird nouns that breaks some of the rules that you know, but just know that dignitas is a nominative singular. And it's the subject. Both of the subject technically est, but est is in the singular because dignitas is right next to it. It's not going off of divitiae. So it is not, however, wealths, but honor, which is of a matter of care for me. So curai it's a genitive there. It's a genitive. It is of concern to me. Right, a little bit difficult in that sentence in terms of some of the grammar, but just one more time we'll go through it. Just so you're absolutely sure on it. But however, pardon me. But however, it is not wealth, but dignity, which is of concern to me. Cool. And then Vitellia responds, dignitas tu amplissima est. So, dignitas tua, your honor. So this is a feminine nominative subject, which is why tua is modified. Your honor is amplissima. Amplissima means it's like very great, very full. It's a superlative form of amplus. Amplus is filled up, right? Like a cup that's brimming over. Your honor is very great. Nam, for, non modo ditissimus est, sed etiam exorum noblissima gente natam habes. Okay. For, non modo. Non modo, the best way to translate that is, it literally means not in this way, or not therefore, but it's not only. We'll just probably translate it here as not only, because it's a little bit easier to translate it that way. Not only. Ditissimus est, so very rich, exceedingly rich, most rich. It comes from dives, which is wealth. Est, you are. Let's put that in regular order. For not only are you exceedingly wealthy, sed, but etiam, moreover, etiam means usually still, but together, we'd say but moreover or not, but also. Uxorum, so is accusative singular, wife, and then noblissima gente natam. This is a participial phrase. and the ablatives that are between the natam, which is modifying uxorem. This is the participle, that's the noun it's modifying. These two ablatives are going with that participial phrase. A wife born, and then novissima gente. It's kind of like from or by a noble gens, a noble family or clan. So probably the best way to translate this is a wife born of noble birth or born from a good family, born from a very noble family. Habes, you have. A little bit hard there, but we'll get there in the end. We got there. So let's put it all together. 4, not only are you very rich, but moreover, you have a wife born from a very noble family. Rufila soror mea uxor est salvi, qui tibi semper vavit et saepe te imperatore commendavit, quid aliud a salvio accebre cupus. It's 2 sentences there, we'll get through them. Rufila, it's a nominative subject. Soror mea, this, always look for commas. They're really, really useful for blocking off texts and clauses. This is a appositional phrase. So it's describing who Rufila is. Rufila, my sister, all nominative singulars. Uxor est salvi. So is the uxor, the wife of Salvius. So genitive of possession. Uxor is the predicate nominative. So the copulant verb est right there is introducing uxor as being equal to Rufila. Qui, and then qui could be modifying Rufila or could be modifying Salvius. We will just make the assumption that it's modifying Salvius because it's right next to it, which is what happens most of the time in Latin. So Salvius, who, relative pronoun, introducing a relative clause. Tibi, to you, semper, always, favit, favored. So remember that favio takes that dative, who always favored you, perfect tense verb, at saepe, and often, right? And often, te, direct object, you, imperatore, dative, to the emperor, commendavit, perfect tense verb, recommended, right? Recommended or consulted, right? Always commended you to the emperor. So let's put that all together. Rufila, my sister, is the wife of Salvius, who always favored you and often commended you to the emperor. Quid aliud a Salvia accepere cupis. So quid is quid right here is not a relative pronoun, and nor is it subordinating. It is an indefinite. Just like quis, it is what. So what aliud, else, what otherwise, a Salvio, basically from Salvius, accepere, to receive, cupis, do you desire. So let's put that in, this is obviously an infinitive going with cupis, you desire to do something. And then salve is it's ablative of separation. So it's receive from. So, and also quid aliud is the direct object actually of this infinitive. So let's put it in ordinary English word order. What else do you want to receive from Salvius? Too easy. Okay, Haterius says, volo ad sumos honores pervenire. Main verb, I want, present tense. And then complementary infinitive, pervenire. So this means to arrive at or to reach. Ad, to the sumos honores, so the highest honors. We'll talk about what he's going on about here in just a second, but he said, I'd like to reach, I want to reach the highest honors. Is probably the best way to translate it. I want to reach the highest honors. Primum, so this is, well, we'll read the full sentence. Primum sacrados esse cupio. multi enem viri sacerdotes ab imperatore creati postea ad consulatum pervenerunt. So primum is an accusative, but it's an adverbial accusative. Primum, you see it all the time. It means at first. So first, cupio, I desire, esse, to be, sacerdos, accusative direct object of that, esse, a priest. So first, I desire to be a priest. Very simple. Esse, by the way, is an infinitive form of sum. So first, I desire to be a priest. Next, a little clause in here, multi enem viri. So enem, it's four. Enem is usually four. For multi viri, for many men. And then we have a prepositional, not prepositional, a participial phrase describing those men, for many men, creati, having been made, so we get the word creation from this, sacerdotes, priests, accusative direct object of that verb, having been made, priests ab imperatore, by the emperor, so ablative agent, postea ad consulatum pervenerit. Afterwards, postea, so adverb, pervenerit, arrived or reached, arrived at ad consulatum, so arrived at a consulship, so reached consulship. So let's put that all together. So for many men, having been made priests by the emperor, afterwards reached consulship. Let's read this next sentence and I'll explain what that means. Sed Salvius, quamquam sacerdotium mihi identidem promissit fidem non servavit. So, but Salvius, and in Latin, it is reasonable to start sentences with a sed, with a conjunction. Not supposed to do it in English, but they did it a lot in Latin. They also didn't have periods back then, so it was a little bit easier for them. Well, easier in one way. So, but Salvius, nominative subject, quamquam, although, so this is, know from that quamquam and the comma there that this is subordinated to the main clause, although the priesthood, sacerdotium, mihi, dative, of advantage, for me, identidem, so this is an adverb, repeatedly, promissit, perfect tense verb, he promised, although he repeatedly promised the priesthood to me, fidem non servavit, faith or trust, non, he did not serve, which means that he didn't keep faith, he didn't keep his promise. So we'll put that all together. But Salvius, although he repeatedly promised the priesthood to me, did not keep faith, did not keep his promise. All right. I'm just going to take a brief aside here. This highest honors that he's talking about and talking about the priesthood and reaching the consulship, I think I talked about how the consulship is one of only two. You had a consular year in which you could be served as consul, one of two people in the land. It's basically the highest position that you could reach as a noble Roman unless you became the emperor, which was very, very unlikely. Well, it was unlikely on most years, unless Rome was extremely unstable and you happened to be a high-level military officer, it was probably unlikely that you'd become emperor. Anyway, so the average person in a stable period in Roman history, if they are noble, went through a process called the cursus honorum. So it means like the course of honor, or it's a specific tract that you go through in order to get into positions of power. And you hold different bureaucratic positions for numbers of years at different ages. It was you could kind of move the positions around and do things in different ways, but it was fairly set that you had to check a bunch of boxes in your political career in order to be able to reach a high-level position. And this is what he's aiming at. He wants to be a consul, and the next step that he wants is to become a priest, because the Romans were exceptionally religious, even if they weren't exceptionally filled with, well, maybe it's not right to judge, but with genuine feelings of faith. A lot of it was about cultural bonding together. Matter of fact, the word religion is Latin, and it means to bind together. Matter of fact, the lig in it is the same word that we get from like ligature or ligament. So in terms of binding, so it culturally bound the Romans together, which is why it was a big issue for many Romans. If you didn't accept Roman cultural practices, specifically religious ones, you could, to the Romans, hold your own religious practices at the same time. But you had to, if you were going to be Roman and going to be part of the system, you had to give sacrifices to Roman religious figures, including the emperor, which was a big problem for certain groups, especially early Christians, who refused to do that. And the Romans were very confused by that, because I think that all of them knew, well, we just do this thing. We all know the emperor's not a god, but we still do this thing. Why don't you do it too? So ancient religion is very interesting, as is ancient politics and ancient bureaucracy. Anyway, let's finish off this last little bit here, guys. Sorry for that aside, which I was hoping would be a little bit shorter. So Watilia has the last say here. And she says, noli desperare mi hateri. So noli is from nolo. It is an imperative, and it takes a complementary infinitive. So it means don't despair. Do not despair. Mi hateri. Mi hateri is a vocative, so direct address right there. Consilium optimum habeo. So direct object of the verb is consilium optimum, the very best counsel. Habeo, present tense verb, I have. So I have the best counsel, or I have excellent advice. In vita salviam ad ariam tuam. Ad ariam tuam. So in vita is another imperative. It's invite, and who is he inviting? Who is she ordering him to invite? Salvius, accusative direct object, ad ariam tuam, to your building yard. So an aria is usually, you usually see it as an open space or a courtyard. This is a very specific term because he's a builder, he's a redemptor. We're going to translate it as building yard here. So invite Salvius to your building yard. Ostenta a polyspaton tuum. So ostenta is from ostentare. We get words like ostentatious from this, but it means to show, and it's another imperative. Show, and then ae, dative, indirect object dative, show to him, polyspaton tuum. So this is the accusative direct object, although it's an accusative, it's a Greek accusative, so that's why it has that on on it. Your crane. Notice also polyspaton it's modified by tuum. So even though it's a Greek accusative, it still takes the ordinary possessive tuum, that um ending. That'd be very odd if they Hellenized tuum and made it tuon. So yes, but show him your crane. And then next word, nil maius nec mirabilius unquam antia factum est. So nil is indeclinable, so it doesn't change no matter what it is. But right here, we'll just translate it as nothing. Nothing, and it's going to be a nominative. So nothing maios, so comparative adjective, meaning nothing bigger, nec, nor mirabilius, nor more extraordinary. Nothing greater or more extraordinary. And notice I've made well, you could say better, but melios is probably better. Maios is bigger. We get majestic and things like that. So nothing bigger or more extraordinary. Unquam, ever, antia, before, factum est. And this is perfect passive tense, has been made. So nothing greater or more extraordinary ever before has been made. Dende salvium admiratione affectum rogate sacerdotio. So dende is then, and then salvium is the direct object. It's the direct object. And then we have admiratione affectum. This is a participial phrase. Affectum is the perfect passive participle modifying salvium. And admiratione is the ablative of instrument. So it's then Salvius, having been affected by admiration or something like that, or moved by admiration. Roga is an imperative tense verb from rogo, rogare, it means to ask. Ask, and then de takes an ablative, it's an orientational ablative, but it means about here. So it doesn't mean about in the same way, like about the mountains or from the mountains. It means concerning the sacerdotium, so the priesthood. Putting that into reasonable English word order, then ask Salvius, after he's been affected with admiration, after he's been moved with admiration, about the priesthood. So that is the end of Dignitas. Now we're going to next go on to a story where he sees the crane and will eventually get up into the crane and see Rome. And we'll see a lot more about the Roman character in that. Hopefully that was good for you guys. If you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video recording.